Hello. As you know, pandemic significantly increased demand for online events. People like that they don't have to book hotels, find babysitters, drive to the airport. But it also created a challenge for event organizers because interactions in the online are awkward compared to the in-person events and conferences that people are used to. It's hard to navigate between events. How do you take payments online, or how do you distribute handouts? There are a lot of questions, and that makes it hard for event management to maximize the potential and business outcomes for those events. But this also creates an opportunity for to solve those needs for developers. Now, with Zoom apps available in webinars and meetings, including access to breakout room management, you can create new tools and services to solve those pains, to expand your business into online events management, and to create new value there. As we are discussing the developer experience with James Citron, CEO at Pledge, and Jeffem Picards, and Jeffem, Chief of Product at Willow, think about how you can, what value you can create, what apps you can develop to grow your business in the events field, and how you can leverage Zoom apps, SDK, and other components of Zoom developer platform to achieve this. James, please show us what you do. What are you doing at Pledge?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to participate in Zoomtopia. Thank you, Evgeny, and thank you so much to Zoom. Let me tell you a little bit more about Pledge. At Pledge, our mission is to power generosity, and the way we do that is by building the world's best and easiest to use charitable donation platform. So we want to make it easy, whether you're planning a live event, whether you're doing a birthday party, whether you're doing a fundraiser for your local church, school, any single event that you want to raise money for, we want to make it easy. To date, we actually have over 2 million nonprofits in our database. We've done donations in over 120 countries, and we're about to hit $100 million raised for 35,000 charities around the world. And I'm really excited to share more today about our Zoom partnership, where we've built the first donate button built seamlessly into Zoom meeting and Zoom webinar, so any virtual or hybrid event can easily process and fundraise donations. All right, well, I'm excited to share with you the first donate button built for Zoom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here. And as everyone knows, in the bottom of Zoom, there's now an apps button. So I'm going to click on apps. And you can go here and discover and search for Pledge, or I've got it installed, so I'm just going to click on the Donations by Pledge app. And we built this to be super simple, so you can literally create a fundraiser in 1 minute for any of the 2 million nonprofits in our database, every school, church, every nonprofit out there. You just click Create a Fundraiser, and I'm going to call this Zoomtopia for Ukraine, because we're actually going to fundraise for Ukraine. And I'm going to choose this incredible nonprofit. I'm sure many of you know it, Save the Children. They're doing incredible work, and they've got a big relief effort in Ukraine. I'm going to set a $2,000 goal, which I can do right here. And if you see here, this is a URL. This enables people after the Zoom fundraiser to literally go here and keep donating. So it's created automatically. I'm just going to update the title and text a donate keyword. This makes it super simple. So if folks are on their phone, they can literally text in this word. I'm going to write Ukraine kids. They can literally text in this word to the phone number 707070 and donate with a thumbprint in seconds through Apple Pay or Google Pay. And last but not least, we built this incredible feature that thanks donors with a virtual background. And basically what this is it enables anyone, as soon as they donate, to get a custom virtual background that shows that they've donated, that they're now a part of this mission. And we've got a bunch of cool templates here that fit a variety of different causes. I'm actually going to upload my own. So you can create your own. It's just a simple JPEG. Here's one for Save the Children. And that's it. I've literally just created my fundraiser. And this is what you see as the host. So now I'm actually going to walk you through what the experience is for someone who's attending this fundraiser. So I'm going to click the donate button real quick. I'm going to make a $250 donation. By the way, 100% of the funds are actually going to the nonprofit. At Pledge, we launched something called Free the Fee, which means that we are covering all the credit card fees as well. So when you give $50, $500, $250, all of that money goes to the nonprofit, and Pledge is covering the fees. I'm going to click continue. My credit card is here on file already. I just click donate. See the confetti? Done. I've literally just donated $250 to Save the Children. And as you can see here, I've got the special custom virtual background that shows my support for the mission. I also have this donation overlay. And what this does is this shows the host and everyone attending that James just donated, the progress against our goal. And this is easy to turn off and on. And that's it. Anyone can use this. It's totally free. And we're seeing incredible events created by schools, religious institutions, nonprofits, and a lot of mission-driven companies, especially as we head into the holidays when everyone's trying to give back to their local communities. Please try it out.
Thanks, James. And it's really inspiring for us to see how you leverage the platform to create so much good. Thank you. Jeffem, could you talk us through what you're doing at Willow?
Sure. First off, I just want to say thank you to Zoom for giving me the opportunity, and Willow the opportunity to be highlighted here and to be part of this. So when I think about Willow, I think about collaboration and connection. So Willow is a virtual space built to recreate some of the magic of in-person meetings and make distributed online meetings a little bit easier, a little bit more effective, and hopefully a little bit lighter. It's a lot easier to see what Willow is rather than me just telling you about it. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Leanne, who's going to walk you through Willow.
Willow brings people together in a visually engaging virtual space, recreating the in-person experience we love. You can look around and see the people and conversations happening around you. Grab your favorite chair and sit next to your friends, or break out from the group for spontaneous discussion. With Willow, you can facilitate coaching, workshops, team meetings, and Agile events, and truly feel together. Play games, or pull everyone together spontaneously to celebrate a big project win. Rally a group on the fly to unblock an issue, or step out for a quick one-to-one. Create your customized dream workspace to support your team's unique workflow. Add applications and whiteboards right in the room for in-the-moment collaboration. Post text, images, and videos to share information or give direction. Then keep things on track with Willow's built-in facilitation tools. Timebox with space and room timers. Broadcast messages to individuals, breakouts, or the whole group. Then easily call everyone back to share their work. No matter where you are, feel like you're working together in the right direction with Willow. Want to learn more? Get your own Willow space or schedule a demo with us today.
So as you saw, the virtual space, the rooms, the avatars, they can lend themselves to a lot of different use cases, but the ones we're targeting right now, we're looking at Agile events and ceremonies, specifically Agile at scale ceremonies. So we're talking about PI planning, release train meetings. Along the same lines, we're looking at large business meetings such as quarterly business reviews. Obviously, you can use the platform for conferences and events. That's a big use case. Learning and development community. There's training in classrooms we have available. There's also a set of meetings known as open space. It's a technology where essentially the attendees come, there's a theme, and they get to drive the agenda. They start in a circle together, they break out and then come back together. And the last one is the virtual office. This is one we're working actively with Zoom to develop. It's not available yet, but it is available on our web product. So we're hoping to release that soon. the context to all this, the world was already transitioning to distributed work long before the pandemic, but that evolution was kind of kicked into high gear when the coronavirus, basically changed all our lives. With that in mind, there were some good things that came from it, right? We gained access to new talent pools across the entire world, but it also presented some new challenges. Since you had these distributed teams, getting together was a lot more difficult, right? So with that in mind, if you think about it, one of the things that Willow does really well is put people together into the same room. And we're really targeting those times when essentially you're not able to get together in person, but at the same time, you want to have a little bit more of a connection than your typical asynchronous connection via Slack or some other chat tool, or maybe an ad hoc Zoom meeting. So with that in mind, Willow is designed for those times in between to allow you to essentially have a very high level of collaboration.
Thank you, Jeffen. It's very, the UX is very impressive and seems very intuitive. Question to both. What part does Zoom play in your overall business?
Well, I'll start. So Zoom is transformational. And let me bring you back to the very beginning of the pandemic. April of 2020, big headline came out. One in the Washington Post, of all places, 1/3 of nonprofits may go out of business due to the pandemic. Think about that. Think about it, the heartbeat of America, the folks who are trying to create a better planet for all of us. Literally 1/3 of the 1.6 million nonprofits go out of business. When we heard this, we tried to understand why. Well, the reality is most nonprofits, they raise their money by in-person events. And so at the beginning of the pandemic, they were so nervous. They'd never raise money virtually. And that's really what led to our partnership with Zoom. So we initially reached out to Zoom and said, why isn't there a donate button built on Zoom? And many folks at Zoom said, literally the number one request at the beginning of the pandemic was, why isn't there a donate button built on Zoom? And at Pledge, that's what we do and we power. So we launched the Donation by Pledge app first in the Zoom meeting and in the Zoom webinar to really enable anyone who wants to fundraise on Zoom to do so. Like I said, millions of dollars has been raised, but let me give you a few examples about how powerful it is. So a few months into the pandemic, Tiger Woods, someone we had no relationship with historically, did an online poker tournament and raised $3 million for Mount Sinai. Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston did a table read of Fast Times at Ridgemont High and raised millions of dollars for CORE, which created free COVID testing clinics around the country. So we saw the power of Zoom to connect humanity in ways that we've never had to deal with that. And by building the donate button through Zoom, we were able to raise millions of dollars for causes that really desperately needed it and really help so many nonprofits literally thrive during a time when they thought it was their darkest hour. So we're grateful for Zoom and grateful for the incredible app store that you've built.
Yeah, thanks, James. It's really, really great to hear. Jeff, what about you?
So we viewed the move to Zoom as foundational for us. The founders of Willow, shout out to Cliff and Philip, they would say that really when they founded Willow a few years ago, they were always hoping to be part of a platform like Zoom. And the idea there is high quality audio, video, and screen share. Those are like the basic foundational building blocks of online virtual communication. So as you can imagine, a virtual platform such as ours needs that type of foundational experience to thrive. Second to that, kind of related or different note, I should say, Zoom opens up a lot of growth opportunities for us. So your customer strategy is very much aligned with what we're going after. We're looking at medium to large size business to business companies. And in terms of industry segmentation, Willow really lines up with the business, education, healthcare sectors. So with this alignment, we're hoping that it opens doors not just for us, but also for Zoom as we bring some of our enterprise customers over with us.
So Jeffem, your app creates a highly interactive experience for a large group of people without central host, central facilitation, right? What's the secret? How do you make it work?
The secret sauce of Willow. Okay. Well, let me start with how do you create a high quality online collaboration? The way we like to think of it is you have to start with putting people through a shared experience that creates understanding and empathy among those individuals. If you're able to pull that off, I'd argue that you're going to have a very successful workshop, conference, meeting, or any other type of large gathering you're trying to put together. But to pull that off, there's a few key steps. One of the things that we often think about is getting people to where they need to be. This is one of the hardest things, even with an in-person event. So if you're an event coordinator or someone, type of facilitator or meeting holder, getting people to the right place at the right time is already really hard, and doing it in the virtual world is even more challenging. So one of the things that Willow allows you to do is it gives you back a little bit of agency as a participant. That visual interface we have adds a new dimension to meetings. So just like a physical conference, a classroom, an office, a school building, you can actually see people moving around the space. You can follow people into a room. You can easily invite others to join you in a conversation. You can knock and join colleagues in a room where maybe a meeting's already in progress. Bottom line, Willow makes it easier to get people to the right place at the right time. The second thing, once you've got people to where they need to be, is you've got to give them the resources they need to collaborate. So they're in the room now, and they're trying to get their mission done, whatever it is that you broke that room up or created that room for. And there's a number of tools they're going to need at their fingertips. If you think about a physical room, you're going to have often at your fingertips a whiteboard, maybe some writing utensils, maybe some white paper, some sticky notes. You can probably do a screen share easily. Well, those same tools that you need in person, you also need them online. And there's a lot of different tools you have to juggle to do that. Willow offers a couple features to help with this. The first one being the room bulletin board or welcome message. This is something that a facilitator could ahead of time pre-configure so that when people go into the room, they can actually look and say, okay, this is exactly what I need to do. You can provide them with specific instructions, links, any other items like that. And then the second part to help them coordinate all those tools is we have something called room resources. These are a set of links to some of the critical tools like Miro, Mural, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, Google Docs, whatever it is they might need to accomplish their mission, they have it right there at their fingertips. The third item that you have to think about here is Willow makes it easier to collaborate just a little bit longer. And that's because it helps to reduce the cognitive load of the people there. What I mean by that is we spend most of our days staring at screens, jumping from meeting to meeting, letting the calendar kind of rule our day. And I think we've all experienced this to some extent, that it's just exhausting. Willow spaces, the rooms, the avatars, they provide you with some of that in-person experience and magic that's just unavailable while we're distributed. That visual aspect helps you make kind of an immediate connection, both cognitively and emotionally. And it sounds simple, but games have been utilizing this trick for years. And what we're doing here is applying that proven approach to meetings that ultimately makes the virtual work experience feel a little bit lighter. A story here, about a year ago, we had a group come to us and say, hey, we love Willow. We're going to try living in it. We're going to have all our meetings in it. We're going to hop in it day to day and just see what it's like living in this tool. And what was fascinating is this is a group that was very familiar with running studies. So after about a month or two of working together, they said, hey, we're noticing a lot of positive effects. Let's actually quantify these. And they on their own came back to us and looked at all the positive aspects of Willow. Outside of just the connection that they were feeling, people felt lighter at work. They felt like they could work longer. And they actually had some data to prove that. And they were kind enough to expose that to us. So it was a pretty powerful experience. And with that, by combining those three elements I just mentioned, Willow essentially makes it easier to generate that excellent experience that creates shared understanding and empathy, and ultimately leads to a very high level of collaboration.
Great. So You create shared understanding, you create tools to meet immediate needs, and then you do everything you can to create a real connection so that people don't get fatigued and can keep being productive longer.
Exactly.
Sounds really great. Thank you. So James, you are facilitating fundraising and also very large events. What do you need to think about when creating a product for simultaneous use by that many people?
There's really two things I want to highlight. One of the most powerful things about Zoom is you have this dynamic between the host and everyone who's attending the meeting. And the power of Zoom is you feel really close and connected. There's other live video platforms, let's say YouTube or whatnot, where it doesn't feel as immersive and connected. So when you're building an app for Zoom, and particularly for large events, think about that host and the experience for everyone attending. And let me give you a great example of this. For us, we want everyone who comes to an event to actually feel, and particularly a fundraiser, to feel really close to what's happening. And we want them to donate to that charity. So I'm going to give you a really powerful, one of the most powerful case studies we've ever seen. There's a nonprofit that helps to uplift small farmers out of poverty. And before, they used to do a traditional gala, and then they moved to Zoom and pledge. And what they did is the CEO got up and shared her story, which was an incredible, heartwarming story. But then another Zoom window popped up, and it took you to Mali, Africa, where you got to see the farmers. You got to see where your money was going. And if you think about that experience, everyone in the audience life was changed because they were literally transported to where their impact would be. And so from the pledge standpoint, the host got to share that experience. When the donor, when the person who was at that Zoom donated, they then got this custom virtual background that showed that they were a part of the mission, something that they could take with them beyond that event. So when you think about that host and guest experience, think about those two things and how can you enrich the experience for everyone attending. The second thing I want to mention is the power of the Zoom app developer ecosystem is you can actually embed custom functionality into Zoom and eliminate all this friction. Before, you might have to drop a link in chat and send people outside of Zoom. And for us, this means literally there's a donate button built into that screen. No one has to leave the environment. So I would think about those two things. Again, how do you engage those folks attending, and how do you build great functionality that all lives within Zoom to make the experience just built in and seamless?
Great. So you're saying that while hosts and attendees are different, you need to think carefully about both sides to make sure that they feel connected as they're using the app. Great, thank you. James, what are some surprising lessons from your development and rollout?
Well, I'll give you a few. One, we were really amazed at this desire to connect with one another through Zoom led us to see a surprisingly high penetration of folks on Zoom desktop. And obviously you want to build an experience that works across every single channel, but we saw a disproportionately high percentage of people wanting to feel really connected using Zoom desktop. So I would just think about that, as well as obviously your mobile experience when you're building. The second thing, and I think this really speaks to the culture of Zoom, and it starts with the founder and CEO, Eric. And this is an incredible, intense focus on the customer. And what I mean by that is we were one of the launch partners of the Zoom App Store, which was an incredible honor. But those early developers, Zoom was going, what's working, what's not working? Can you give us data so we can really improve the App Store and we can really deliver the best experience to your customers and our customers collectively? So I would think about that as well. How do you build an app? How do you constantly mine and talk to your customers so you're delivering the best experience? And Zoom is really, really receptive to that feedback, because from the top, across the entire organization, they're so focused on delivering that incredible experience that they're going to listen to your feedback as well.
Yeah, I agree. And working in that environment, for me, it's really enjoyable to be able to listen and actually do things that you're asking us to do. Jeffem, what were your surprises and lessons?
So I would start with nothing ever goes quite as you'd expect with a rollout. I'm sure anyone who's rolled an app out has experienced this, but you go through all the process, you use all your previous experience, you think that somehow you can mitigate away every single risk, and then somehow, just like a black swan event, right? You end up, something pops up that you didn't expect. The one I'm thinking of specifically was we launched our app officially back in August. So we've been in the market now for about 2.5 months, but right near the beginning of that period, we had one of our first big events happen. It was a 150-person planning event. And that group, we were in preparation for having that group in Willow. We were obviously getting ready and trying to prepare the app to scale appropriately. So we had done everything we could think of. We had put everybody in the app that we have employed currently. We threw bots in the app. We hired a QA firm to help us crowd test. And all of these things, we thought, okay, we've got this thing, right? It's ready to go. There's no way we missed anything. And sure enough, when human beings, 150 of them, popped in that space, all sorts of issues we didn't expect popped up. We had to fix bugs real time. And it's just one of those things that, you can't always, as I said, mitigate away every single risk. Flip that around though, on the positive side, we were really just pleasantly surprised by how many things just worked from the Zoom apps marketplace. So getting things up initially, that took a little bit of time, right? We worked closely with Evgeny, you and the rest of the team to kind of get ourselves integrated into Zoom. But once we had sorted through that, and once we started to actually see people using the app, we noticed, hey, a lot of the features are just working, right? That rock solid audio video screen share, the breakout rooms, all of it was just clicking right from the beginning. So that was a real positive development, I would say, something we were really happy to see.
Yeah, testing app which is intended to work for a large audience is very hard, and it requires extra planning. I understand.
I'm sure you all deal with that all the time. So,
Jeffem, who's your favorite customer? What's the great example of someone who uses the app?
Ooh, favorite customer. I'm gonna choose to highlight here. There's a lot of customers that are popping into my head. That's why I paused there for a minute. But the one that I'm thinking about is there's a group of people inside one of our large consultancy that started using us recently. And I think we tend to think of enterprise companies as kind of late laggards, right? There's not a lot of innovation or people that are trying to innovate within those companies necessarily. And I've just been pretty inspired by this group. They reached out to us. They said, hey, we want to try and get the app in. It took us, just like with every enterprise, months to kind of get it all through the process. But they stuck with it. They worked with us right from the beginning, and they were one of our early adopters. That's why I'm choosing to highlight them. They really worked closely with us to not only get the app into their environment, but then to help us kind of build features and sort out issues with it and figure out all the usability and onboarding problems. And what's amazing about that group is they're just a software development group inside of like a 50,000 person company, but their use has actually inspired a lot of others as a result. It recently got the app in front of the head of their IT department, who was looking for a metaverse solution. We're not a metaverse application. We consider ourselves, I would say, more metaverse adjacent. But with that in mind, we do think that's where the industry is growing, right? More immersive experiences. And he very powerfully said to us, he said, hey, this is amazing. I'm getting all these requests for metaverse apps, but your app does all of the things that people are asking right now. So just seeing those early adopters and the energy that they bring and their ability to kind of drive others to change, that was really inspiring to me.
Yeah, sounds really great. James, what about you? Can you highlight some great stories?
Yeah, I'm going to give one great example that I just love. There's an incredible nonprofit called Social Venture Partners, and I'm sure some members of the audience have heard of this nonprofit. They have these chapters in big cities all around America. And they do one big event a year. It's kind of like Shark Tank for nonprofits. And typically 10 nonprofits in each city will vie in this competition to win funding to help launch their nonprofit. And it's very Shark Tank style, right? So pre-COVID, they'd rent out this incredible venue, right? And people would go to a gala style experience in Los Angeles. You know, the challenges of doing an in-person event are, is it raining? Is there traffic? It's really expensive to rent one of these venues. Well, during COVID, they pivoted to virtual because they couldn't do an in-person gala. They had never done this before. And you know what happened? They raised more money than ever before. So pre-COVID, in this beautiful gala with, you know, high-end booze and everyone dressed up and this incredible experience, that raised less money than the virtual gala for social venture partners. Why? Well, when it went virtual, they could reach people around the country and around the world. They didn't have to worry about people getting stuck in the 405 and not being able to make it to the gala. Not only do they raise more money, their costs were so much less. They didn't have to spend a year, you know, planning this. They didn't have to raise all this money just to throw the gala. So at the very end, they said to us, and this is literally a direct words from the executive director, this was so successful, we're gonna have a hard time even contemplating going back to an in-person event because of the success of the virtual fundraiser. So Social Venture Partners is a great example. And we have seen this now with hundreds and thousands of nonprofits, even post-pandemic, now thinking about Zoom as a part of, and virtual and hybrid as a part of every event experience they're planning.
So with the right tools, online events are become much more efficient than in person.
More efficient and bigger reach.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to commute in LA on a
Indeed.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and last question. What's your experience with Zoom Apps Developer Platform?
I can take this one. I can start at least. So Willow joined the program a little over a year ago, and it's been quite a ride. What I'd like to highlight personally is Zoom's commitment to getting it right. Building any new platform is hard. I've been part of building 2 developer platforms in previous life, and the complexities around doing that. A lot of people think it just puts some APIs out and your platform's built, but the reality is it's troubleshooting, it's working with partners, it's trying to find the right features, it's tweaking things. And then trying to build that and do all that on top of an established business like Zoom, I mean, that's a whole nother level of complexity I've never encountered. So I think it would have been really easy to give up along the way. But Ross, Arun, Evgeny, and the rest of the team, y'all have shown that, hey, you're listening and you're here to help and really get our products launched as quickly and as fully featured as possible. So my overall impressions, I would say, I think the basic building blocks are all here now. The roadmap is looking great. And we at Willow are just excited to continue to grow the Zoom Apps team and watch the platform evolve.
From Pledge's standpoint, I have to say the power for future app developers is you can tap into the broad reach, the scale, the quality of the Zoom experience and build something that's never been done before. That's what we did with the first donate button, which has now raised millions of dollars for charities all around the world. And it's very rare, if not impossible, to work with a company, a multi-billion-dollar company of Zoom size and scale that is so 100% focused on your success. So I highly encourage others to consider building on top of Zoom. I think you'll find the experience, the developer support, and the reach of Zoom to be very catalytic to your growth plans.
Thank you, James and Jeffem, for sharing your experience creating apps that improve facilitation and large events. To all our viewers, Go and try Pledge and Velo on Zoom Apps Marketplace. Check out Zoom Apps documentation and use Developer Forum if you have any questions or you want to discuss some ideas. Thank you.
Thanks,
and don't
Evgeny.
forget, please feel free to donate by texting Ukraine Kids to 707070. Click on the link in chat and donate through Zoom. All donations up to $2,000 will be matched today by Pledge. Zoom's core value of care is a core value that we share at Pledge. So we're honored to be here, and we're honored to help our friends and kids suffering in Ukraine by donating to Save the Children. So please join us, and thank you again to Zoom and Evgeny for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Evgeny, for having us. Really appreciate it.
Well, here we are, my friends. It is the end. All good things must end. We must say goodbye now. But what an incredible trip it has been, and informative. I learned a lot. I learned humpback whales are happy. I learned that you can whiteboard. I learned that the Zoom room is going to have cameras eventually that have artificial intelligence. So no funny stuff in the Zoom room, folks. What else have I learned? I've learned that when you perform live in front of people in a convention center, it's better to actually wear pants. Just throwing it out there. Hopefully Zoomtopia has enabled you to grow, change. I hope it is going to bring you much success in all of your companies. That's what this is all about, isn't it? Success. This is the key to success, love and happiness. I want to thank Zoom for having me, and thank you all for joining online.